Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. The thing about using clapperboards, which I use at the front of every video, is that occasionally I catch my finger in them. And I've just done it. Next comment and question comes from Classic Arcade and Amusement Park video. In response to listen to the classic sound set of the Korg M1, a video I did way back in August 2020. In fact, actually, it was a remake of a previous video where I hadn't copied all the sounds correctly onto the M1 when I ran the sequences. Anyway, what Classic Arcade says is great video. The M1 was one of the greatest synths ever made and still the most popular one ever made. I have two and they both have great the Invision Plus One boards internally installed. I've been looking for an Invision Plus One board, but I can't find them anywhere. In recent times for gigs, I've switched to using Korg's M1 VST, which includes all the cards, and I was able to import other sounds via Sysex. I just wish they had included the Plus One sounds, which are doubled the usefulness of the M1. The M1 sounds are great, even with the Korg Piano 1 PCM data memory card, the MSC05. Clearly the piano was the weakest part of the M1 versus the keyboard that came shortly after it, like the Yamaha SY77. Most synths after the M1 have a much better grand piano with lots of sustain. It's really the other sounds of the M1 that made it continue to be so special. For the time the M1 came out, the piano wasn't bad, but compared to what came out shortly after, it wasn't great. I can barely tell the difference between stock M1 piano versus the ones in the MSC05 card set. Well, first of all, thanks for the feedback. Always welcome to get feedback on videos, especially if it's good feedback. Now, neither my M1 or my M1R, which is funny enough an unbranded EX, have modifications. No, I say that, have modifications. The M1R was modded into the M1EX, so it was an aftermarket mod. You can see it when you look at the board. So it has been modded, but it's been modded with a standard mod, if that makes any sense. Now, what were the additional features that the Ignition 1 Plus One board provided to the stock keyboard? Now, I've seen reference to this come up a few times, but I've never seen the modification actually up for sale. So I've never really investigated it. If it's something I think about buying, then I tend to sort of go and do a bit more investigation around it. Otherwise, if it's something I'm not going to buy, then quite often I think, well, why would I invest the time, effort and money investigating it only to find I can't buy it? If you kind of get my drift. If something like this comes up, I normally do the research. If it doesn't, then, as I said, the piano on the M1 was used by so many dance acts through the 90s as the stock go-to piano. When you hear that sort of piano riff on a lot of dance tunes, you instantly recognise it as an M1. Some have specifically said that the track breakdown, that it was the 05 card they used, and others have just left it at the M1. So it could have been either, is the basic premise behind that. But probably because the M1, I have the M1s, and because I don't gig mine, I haven't really delved into the Korg M1 VST. I don't like VSTs. People who watch the channel know I'm not a great software synth fan, and therefore if I have the keyboard, I will play the keyboard rather than actually playing the VST. Now I get the whole VST will be quicker and save me time and but you know what, if I want to play an M1, I'll go and get my M1. That's kind of where I am. But it's also good to know, like the Roland equivalent, you can import patches, the other SysX patches. So if you created patches on your M1, you can actually import them into the VST software, which is brilliant. Roland did exactly the same. You can import the patches into the VST software, and effectively you can create your own and curate your own sound library for these machines, which is great. Really, really useful. Anyway. Classic Arcade writes back and gave me a bit more information on the Plus One board. It's a board that gets installed internally by a certified tech. It doubles the number of onboard wave samples from 4 to 8 megs, which is kind of what the T1 did. But the selection of these additional 4 megs were excellent. My favourites were the Les Paul electric guitar, one of the best I've ever heard, the 6-string acoustic guitar and the pipe organ patch, the 2 great Hammond patches and some Mellotron string patches, and many, many other great sounds. When I had the Plus One card installed, it cost me about £400. $400 when it came out in 1993. It cost about $100 to have it professionally installed. The manual stated, having this board installed by only a certified tech, having your friend installed it will most likely result in your M1 catching fire. Don't call our engineers; they will only laugh at you. I think that was to try and get you away from the have a go soldering iron warriors, if I'm brutally honest. So that said, where do I have it installed? Unfortunately, the top tech in the USA, it was in my state and less than an hour away, so both of mine were done by Korg USA, and Korg USA was so impressed. In the final years M1s were produced, the Korg USA included this non-Korg board with their keyboards because it was so great to have. Breathe new life into the M1. I guesstimate maybe 1 in 20 M1s have this board or something like that. There isn't really any good YouTube videos that demonstrate it, but there's a video that shows some of the sounds. I probably should make my own video and upload it to YouTube. However, my connection is so terrible that it will take so much time. Okay. I think your 1 in 20 is very optimistic given how many units of the M1 were actually sold by Korg. And I don't know the exact numbers, but it was and I think still is, the best selling synth ever made in terms of units sold by the manufacturer. So I think 1 in 20 is probably a bit optimistic. It might be 1 in 20 in a certain territory, but not 1 in 20 worldwide. Now, I've looked at YouTube and found just one video playing sounds and a couple of videos in Spanish about the Plus One board. But as I don't speak Spanish, they were a little bit hard to follow, so it would have been great if somebody could have put the English subtitles on the Spanish video, but that's life, I guess. C'est la vie.